United States Senator Bill Cassidy is here for a little bit. Hey, Dr. Bill, how are you this morning?
I'm great, Robert. How are you?
Well, I am looking, you and I, we don't know each other well, but we have spent time together on the radio, and you've probably figured out I'm not the most wonkish-oriented guy there is. And we got a couple of emails from your folks, and why don't you, rather than me mess it up, why don't you explain to folks about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and why that will be beneficial to Louisianans, especially on the energy front?
It's going to be beneficial to Louisiana on multiple fronts. But on the energy front, on the Entergy, if your utility is Entergy, or probably any other utility, you're about to get a break on your monthly bill. When taxes are put upon a utility company, they pass those taxes to the consumer. When their tax rate is cut, there's less of a tax passed to the consumer. And indeed, if they paid tax in the past and now they have a tax cut, they will refund money to the consumer. So it's a way for the consumer to win indirectly, added to the direct benefits that most folks are getting from having less money taken out of their paycheck.
I don't know this for sure, but I would bet the Dems are against this. The Democrats are against this. Are they? Is my little detective work correct?
Absolutely. Pelosi and Schumer want to repeal it. They want you and me to pay higher taxes. They're mad as heck that we are paying lower taxes. Oh my gosh, less power for the government, more for the people. They're opposed. And so, yes, Schumer, Pelosi, and others are leading the charge.
You know, I want to talk a little bit about, and I saw this a couple of sources, that former Saints star Steve Gleason, who is battling amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. You are starting a push. In fact, you have proposed legislation. You know more about it than me. You fill in the holes.
Hey, if you're a Saints fan and you remember Steve Gleason, there's a statue of him in front of the Superdome. He blocked the punt against Atlanta. First game back after Katrina. The punt rolls into the end zone. Somebody recovers. The Saints go on to win the game. The superhero. On the other hand, we're not honoring him for that. The guy came down with Lou Gehrig's disease, and he knew he was going to lose his voice. He knew that he would eventually be bound to a wheelchair, and both have happened. You walk in the room thinking, oh, my gosh, I'm going to feel sorry for the guy, and you walk out thinking, what a fantastic life. Let me do something for others.
Well, yeah, he started his own foundation, right?
Own foundation, but he knew he was going to lose his voice, so he recorded his voice. And because he's from Washington State, he got some attention as a football player. Microsoft came in, created hardware and software so that if he looks at a keyboard, he can blink his eyes, and it goes into a database of his recorded voice, and he ends up talking to you with his recorded voice. Now, we got Vitter First and me were able in getting legislation through so that if somebody is on Medicare and they have the same problem, they have access to that Microsoft hardware and software. Tremendous advocate for those with ALS, tremendous advocate for disabled. We're going to try and get him the Congressional Gold Medal to honor him for that. Now, he's a great football player. There's a lot of those. He's a great advocate for our fellow Americans who have terrible disabilities. Wonderful guy.
You know, we had Senator John Kennedy on earlier this hour, and we're talking a little bit about gun control and some of the lobbying groups, et cetera, et cetera. And basically the way I phrased the question was, since you arrived at the U.S. Senate, you, Mr. John, and for that matter, you too, Dr. Bill Cassidy, you have hardly been shrinking violets or wallflowers when it comes to making your ideas known, to try to starting legislative balls rolling. Did you have any idea that, and the way I phrased it to Mr. John was, did you know you were such a horrible person? And the point being, what kind of pressure are you under daily from lobbying groups, other legislative groups, anti-gun groups, the list, pro-abortion groups? It must never seem to stop.
That's okay. You sign up for this job saying you're going to represent the people of Louisiana and you're going to represent a certain set of values of the people of the United States. And I welcome that. If folks want to get into a kind of, okay, we oppose the Second Amendment, I support the Second Amendment, bring it on. If somebody wants to say, as a physician, I can speak to the life which begins in the womb. If somebody wants to deny that, I say bring it on. Robert, I was elected to represent the people of Louisiana and values of those in the United States, and I will do so aggressively because I think those are the values that have made our country great.
U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy. Dr. Bill, a pleasure as always. Thank you for your time, and keep up the good work, man. My pleasure as always.
Thanks, Robert.